Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. The Shinkansen heist is about to go down in another exciting episode of Akudama Drive. Yes, I'm reviewing this brand new anime series. For those of you who are tardy to the party just like me, I actually skipped the first 2 episodes of Akudama Drive. I decided to check them out just a couple of days ago, and I pretty much fell in love with the series instantly. It's just beautiful cyberpunk animation porn, and thus I wanted to continue to check out the series, as everybody's just been blowing up about Akudama Drive, calling it the anime of the season. And I don't want to jump the gun and say that quite yet, because I want to see how the series is going to progress, and it's going to be able to keep up its amazing pacing and world building, and of course continuing to display its amazing characters, which are incredibly over the top. And this episode was certainly a continuation of that. Definitely the slowest episode of the series thus far, but I think this is a necessary evil for a show like this in order to sort of build up the next big major confrontation of the series, which of course is going to involve all of the Akudama trying to make their way into this high security train so that they can steal some sort of vault which is filled with some sort of strange cyberpunk MacGuffin. We don't know what that's actually going to be yet, but this was an exciting episode, and it also made me realize that every single episode has a unique title, and they're all based on some sort of real-world life movie, like Seven, Reservoir Dogs, and the name of this episode is going to be Mission Impossible, which I think is really awesome. I looked at the preview for the next episode, and it's going to be called Speed. There's definitely a theme when it comes to the titles of all these films and how they sort of connect to the overall story, and being that this one is connected to Mission Impossible, well, it all has to deal with this heist, which indeed is incredibly crazy with how it's actually going to work. But this episode really focused on the character of the ordinary girl, otherwise known as the Swindler. She doesn't have a name yet, so from this point on, I simply am just going to refer to her as the Swindler. And the biggest thing about her character, and what has been the biggest joke since the first episode, is how she actually ended up getting involved with all of these people, and basically it has completely bitten her in the ass. Now she's been dragged into this crazy scenario where she's going to be working with these super high-class criminals to try and go through these incredibly dangerous missions, which are very do or die. But this episode, like I said, was kind of a simple one, but we finally got to see the plan go into action. And it's a multi-step plan, of course, where they're going to have to break into this high-class train station. They have to go up into an elevator and make their way to a train. The only way that they're going to be able to do that is that they have to go to these 2 elevators, which have to be activated at the same exact time. This is really dangerous, but the cat seems to be a mastermind when it comes to coming up with these plans, so he actually decides to divide everybody into 3 separate teams. Teams of 3, 2 of those, and of course 1, which is just simply going to be the courier himself, the default main character of the series, of course, but he's by himself because they need his bike in order to actually get inside of the train, as well as being able to haul off what is going to be some sort of weird vault-like object, which again, they're keeping intentionally mysterious. I don't know what it's going to be, but I have a feeling it's going to tie directly into the dystopian futuristic world that is Akudama Drive. But what's really great about this episode, again, is simply just seeing Swindler work with everyone else, because she's just talking out her ass the entire time. She can't, speak out of line too much. She can't reveal too much about her personality, because this could result in her head basically exploding, and if your head explodes, you're gonna have a bad time. But the entire scene when they're actually trying to make their way to these elevator buttons is definitely, I think, the highlight of the entire episode. Because again, it just shows how crazy the technology in this world is, and the different ways these 2 groups actually go about actually making their way through these invisible barriers, which I think are a lot of fun. The group that involves Brawler, his seems to be the simplest because the man just has Herculean Hulk-like strength. He can just basically pick up these massive pillars which are attached to these invisible barriers, and he can just rip them out of the ground, no problem. It's easy. And then, of course, you have Swindler in their group, and they have some pretty competent people on their team, Hacker and Cutthroat. Now, Cutthroat, of course, is the more unpredictable of the 2, and having Hacker there is really important, but even though this kid can, do these amazing technological things, it's really not that easy to just use his abilities to break their way through. He even says, hacking is not exactly magic, it takes a little bit of work. So that's when Cutthroat comes up with this plan where he continuously starts to throw these knives through these barriers, and every single time he'll bring out a new knife, he throws it and it hits the other one as it slowly starts to break through all of them until eventually he runs out. And this was perfectly timed because as I was watching it, I was like, there's no way this guy has like an infinite amount of knives, right? He's gonna run out eventually. As soon as I thought that, boom, he reveals that, yeah, no knives for him. But Swindler actually decides to use one of Hacker's drones to drive in the last knife, which allows them to break through the barriers as we get to see both of their teams hit these buttons at the same exact time. It was breakneck and it was really freaking awesome. A little different than the crazy over-the-top action scenes that we saw from the previous episodes, but still just as exciting. But that brings us to the last big trial for the characters at the end when they finally actually do make it to this train. The cat gave them this hidden object which is going to allow them to basically turn off the power in this vicinity, except that it actually ends up turning off like the power in the entire city, but they only have 60 seconds to actually do that. Should they have called this episode Gone in 60 Seconds? But enough about Nicolas Cage movies, let's get back on track here. So all the power goes out, they're able to make it in except for this electromagnetic field, which is still like sort of blocking the entrance to this place. And as it happens, the only way that they're actually going to be able to get an object in there is through this massive like container, which can only hold a certain amount of weight. And the only one who has the weight to actually do this, of course, is Swindler. But of course, if it goes wrong, this field is basically going to shred and destroy her. And she has to do this in a very quick amount of time. She has to find out where the button is to actually turn this thing off on the inside so that Courier can make his way in at the absolute last second. And luckily, she's able to pull it off. It is such an amazing, tense moment, and watching Courier just use his really cool bike to make his way through is really fun. But this is just the beginning of this heist. There's still a long way to go, and it's only a matter of time before the executioners decide to catch up with them. They do appear again in this episode, talking to their main boss, the leader of the executioners, and she thinks they should bring in more people. But of course, the master and pupil decide that they're going to go in and they're going to try and make up for their last mistakes, and they're going to go in themselves. Preview for the next episode shows we're going to get a lot more action, and I cannot wait to see that. So, what's the rundown on the third episode of Akudama Drive? Definitely a slower episode when compared to the second ones, but again, I think, like I said, this is a necessary kind of thing, because it's going to get crazy from here. There's no way that it's actually not going to. This is essentially just sort of like the tension before the build-up. This was watching the fuse right before it makes its way to the dynamite, if you will. And next week, things are gonna go bang. I can't wait to see what the executioners are actually gonna bring to the table this time and how they're actually gonna try and combat all of these people in such a confined space. I mean, they did it last time, but here, I think things are just gonna get a lot more fun. But this was an episode that definitely focused a little bit more on Swindler and how she interacts with the other characters, a little bit more on how she's constantly covering her tracks. And you can almost get a feel that she's kind of getting into it, which I think is actually kind of interesting. And more importantly, I see this as the type of show that's probably going to have some twists down the line. And I can honestly see it actually coming from this girl. Maybe she really is a swindler. Maybe this is all going to have like some big M. Night Shyamalan twist at the end where this has actually all been a part of her plan from the beginning, which I think would be really great if that's true. She's the greatest actor on the freaking planet. I mean, it's pretty clear that the cat knows there's something not quite right about this character and sort of poking fun at that and just sort of having fun with the entire situation. Again, everything with the cat, too, is also kind of completely up in the air. We have no idea about some of the greater details of this world, but luckily it seems like little by little every episode is going to introduce some lore, and they do that through these like weird little PSA cartoons, which is they showed off in the last episode, but here they're just funny, and I can already see these characters becoming enduring. Bunny and Shark, they're just funny, creepy puppet people. But they explain a little bit more about what this world is actually like and how it all goes down. And they're doing a great job, too, of like showing how different these two regions are going to be, because this train is specifically made to go to the Kanto region, the one that supposedly destroyed like all of Kansai in the past with a massive bomb. And you can tell that everything is just so much more technologically advanced and way more pristine than anything that we've actually seen in the Kansai region. I can't wait to see what happens when they actually get to this place and they bring their destructive Kansai ways to Kanto, which I think is going to be really awesome. Otherwise, this was another really tense episode. It was most definitely a heist-style episode and went perfect with the title of the episode, Mission Impossible. It gets me really excited to see what the other titles of the episodes are going to be, and I'm just pumped to see more of Akudama Drive. Drive. I still think it's one of the more exciting shows of the season, and it continues to have fantastic production value, not just in the character designs and the animation, but the world building, the look of the world. Everything is so visually distinctive, and it's always really fun. I especially love the scene when they're trying to get to the elevator, probably my favorite part about the entire episode. So I liked this episode. A little slow for me, especially when compared to the first 2 episodes, but again, like I said, it kind of has to happen, but still very high quality episode, which is why I'm going to drop a 4 out of 5 on this episode. I'd love to get your thoughts on it, and you can share them in the comments section below, telling me what you thought about this episode, any thoughts and theories about the future of the series, and what you hope to see from the rest of Akudama Drive. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like it, give the video a thumbs up. It helps these videos tremendously. It allows more people to actually see my content when it is released. I also want to thank all of my patrons who have been donating through my Patreon page. I just got a brand new patron, which is awesome. I have a few brand new Patreon supported reviews which are coming along. Remember, first time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice. I'd also love to add your name to this list of amazing people. These are the producers of Ace Guru. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.